This is Anime Ricochet. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Anime Ricochet, the premier anime podcast of the Nerd Blaze.
Nerd Blaze?
My name is Jeff, and with me, as always, is the top high school setter in the region, Jacoby. Welcome.
It was a long and difficult journey to get to where I needed to be in order to be an expert setter. It looks easy, but it's not. There's a lot that goes into tossing a ball up for other people to hit, let me tell you.
I'm sure there is, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. It's been a long time, Kobe. But just to give an overview, this podcast is about two dudes who know nothing about sports talking about sports animes. However, Kobe, I have a twist for you.
What? There's a twist? You're throwing change at me real quick.
I've actually gotten into a sport recently.
You're blowing up with the central concept of our podcast.
I know, this is going to be our last episode.
After just finding a groove back again. Damn it.
Yeah, I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Is that a sport?
Yeah, it is. It's in the Olympics, I think.
You have teams? You're on a team?
No. It's like a solo thing, you know. Well, I mean, technically, like, your gym, I guess, could be your team, but I don't know. Anyways.
Yourself as the team. Does that have anything similar to volleyball?
That's a good one. I'd have to say no, not at all. So that is really irrelevant to
this because
yes, go ahead.
Because we're talking all about volleyball on this week's episode of Anime Ricochet.
Yeah, the anime we're talking about is Haikyuu. It's breakout sports anime, very popular these days. And yeah, we're just gonna get right into it, Kobe?
Let's do it.
So Haikyuu is a volleyball anime based off of a shonen manga of the same name. The manga was written by Haruichi Furudata and has been serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump since February 2012. The manga is still running, and there are currently 28 volumes. The anime is directed by Susumu Mitsunaka, known for directing Squid Girl.
What?
Cuticle.
What? Okay, I'm sorry. I know
Girl.
What is Squid Girl? I can take a guess what Squid Girl is. I'm not. Hope it's not too much of a stretch to say it's about a Squid Girl.
Honestly, I didn't look into it, but let me look into it right now. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at the pictures. It's literally a girl with blue hair, and her hair is the squid tentacles.
Okay, Squid Girl.
Yes,
naturally.
Yes.
Do you think she plays volleyball?
I don't know. It could be like an aquatic-based sports anime that we know nothing about. We'll have to do an investigation.
We'll do it. This is podcasting on the fly, folks.
Yes. He also directed Cuticle Detective Inaba and Kiku Furuki Natsu no Taikai Hen. That's a baseball anime.
That's okay. So that's another sport one.
Yes. So he's got some experience, I guess. Sports animes and Squid Girls.
Sports animes and Squid Girls. Dibs on band name.
The studio that produced Haikyuu is Production IG, which has been known for all kinds of crazy shit like Guilty Crown, Psycho Pass, Eden of the East, and Ghost in the Shell.
Awesome.
Psycho Pass and Ghost in the Shell, one of my favorite animes of all time. Yeah. They also are known for developing intros, cutscenes, and artwork for video games, such as Tales of Symphonia, which is actually one of my favorite GameCube games, and probably my favorite RPG of all time.
Yeah. So it's pretty safe to say that these guys kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know their shit. They know how to produce high quality stuff. So in this episode, Anime Ricochet episode, we're going to be talking about all 3 seasons that have currently come out.
There will be some light spoilers. We won't go into too much detail about a lot of things till the end, but just to let you know up front that we will be talking about the show and certain elements, or else we wouldn't have a podcast.
Exactly. So, the Haikyuu anime started on April 6, 2014, and the last episode aired was December 10th, 2016, so it's still pretty fresh in our memories, in our collective memories. It's very popular, selling millions of copies.
60 episodes.
60 episodes, and there is also, looks like there's a few films. Haven't seen the films, though, but yeah, we're just going to be talking about the anime series.
Right.
Anyways, yeah. Shall we jump into the characters?
Ooh, let's do it themselves. The characters of Haikyuu, the ones who make up these lovable ragtag group of volleyball experts and volleyball wannabes.
Yes. The the characters we're going to be talking about are all part of the Karasuno volleyball team. Karasuno is the name of the high school that all these characters attend. However, there is a huge cast of characters, so we're not going to be talking about every single one of them. We're just going to be talking about the ones that are in our main volleyball team.
The important ones, the ones we like.
Exactly. So yeah, let's start off with the main man himself. His name is Shoyo Hinata. Want to talk about Hinata?
Of course, he is a anime protagonist to the T. He is young, he's energetic, he's peppy, he is short. And just what he wants to do more than anything is play volleyball. He, when he was a young lad, he was driving by a match and he saw the little giant, who is this famous volleyball player, play, and it just inspired him to also want to play volleyball. So he's been working really hard for years to kind of master the craft, to become the best, to become an ace, as the volleyball terminology goes. And along the way, he is never deterred. He's never put down. He's an energetic protagonist who just wants to play volleyball.
Yeah, he's definitely your typical shonen manga main man, because he's a guy that never gives up. He's enthusiastic. He's got like a special talent, and his special talent is that even though he's short, he's got crazy mad hops, and he's like super fast, super everything. I think what really... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, which is like, I always wondered, like, that's never really explained, or no one really ever comments about the fact he's a short guy who can jump so incredibly high. Like, I'm just curious on how. Can you practice jumping?
Yeah, actually, I've seen videos online of like short dudes. Like there's some videos online of like short guys that learn how to dunk, and it's like there's videos of them showing their progress throughout the weeks and the months, and it's actually pretty impressive, like how far you can come at with just practicing the same jump.
So I can stay in my room all day and just start jumping up and down, and then I will be able to jump to incredible heights.
And you too can jump to incredible heights. Yes.
Wow, what an inspiring anime.
Yes. I would definitely look up those videos. They're pretty cool to watch. Anyways, I think the thing that sets Hinata apart from other protagonists is I think the show does a really good job of endearing the viewer to him, because right from the beginning, like the very first episode, you really get a sense of how much he's struggled and persevered to get to where he is. Because one of the main things I like about him is there's this montage where it's showing him practicing volleyball, but he's all by himself. Like, he doesn't have a team. Even though he has no team, he's still going at it, still chasing his dreams without any support.
Pestering his friends to throw him tosses.
Bugging his friends all day, and eventually his friends give in and they support him more, even though in the beginning they have no confidence in him, but they just see that through his sheer perseverance he goes through it. And yeah, I just think that's a really good way of having us really admire the character.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times you have characters that are like, yeah, this is the main guy, and you're supposed to care about him. But I think this show does a really good job of showing you that this guy's been through some shit already by the time the first episode has begun.
Yeah.
So he already has like a background in like who he is, why he does what he does, and how much perseverance and tenacity he really has.
Exactly. What I'd like about him, at least early on, as we'll talk about in the show really kind of evolves into an ensemble more so than like an individual character, as it kind of suggests at the beginning with our two protagonists. But Hinata, at first, what I really admire about him is that he inspires those around him to want to be better. People like to see Hinata do, like, never give up and persevere, and they're kind of inspired to do the same, which is, I think, a healthy, great trait for protagonists to have.
Definitely. And the other, in terms of volleyball, the position he plays is that of the middle blocker.
But he can't be a blocker. He's so short.
Exactly. So that's kind of his main shtick, is that usually the middle blocker is reserved for people that are really tall, because, as the name implies, it's usually a position where you block spikes.
Mm-hmm.
But he can get around that by jumping really high,
mm-hmm.
and again having really fast reflexes and speed that allows him to also get around blockers when he tries to hit a ball. So like if he's got like blockers going up against him, he'll basically just like whoosh, like jump, like sprint to the other side of the court and hit the ball, which also plays into what his actual like secret position is, which is that of the greatest decoy. And that basically means that people are going to see, oh shit, he's really fast, we got to block him. And that's basically going to distract from all the other spikers on the rest of the team. So that's his kind of unique position in volleyball,
and
which I think is really cool.
It really sets him up because for like at least an interesting arc, at least at the beginning, because we meet this character and he wants to be the ace, he wants to be the best, and at least the first section of this anime is him kind of coming to terms with the fact that he can't really be the ace of the team just because of his skills, but his skills allow him to be the greatest decoy, which allows his team to win, and when his team wins, he wins too.
Yeah, and a lot of his arc basically revolves around him, one, refining his skills, because he's got raw talent, he's got mad hops and mad reflexes, but it's not very refined. And his arc also revolves around, accepting his part in the team, not as like a main attacker so much, but as like kind of a support character. But he does eventually become sort of like a really powerhouse player himself, which is also really cool to see.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah.
So that's one half of the main characters. At the beginning, there's clearly two main characters, and Hinata is one of them. Who's the other one, Jeff?
His name is Tobio Kageyama, and as you would expect, he is basically Hinata's foil. He's like the complete opposite of him. So he is tall, and he's not really peppy and enthusiastic like Hinata is.
The exact opposite of that.
He's more cool, like reserved, kind of a dick.
He's a dick, but he's not mean. He's just blunt. He'll tell you if something's wrong about you. He'll tell you, it's like, you're doing this wrong, or that's stupid, or get out of my way because I need to do this.
Exactly, and I guess another way is, unlike Hinata, he's sort of a genius at volleyball at pretty much everything. Like he's good at spikes, he's good at blocking, he's good at serves, but like his main position is being the setter, and that's the position that he has the most passion for. And being the setter basically means he's the control tower. He's the guy that sets up all the attacks from which all the other spikers rely on. So he's kind of the guy that coordinates the points, the offense, basically. Right. So, versus Hinata, who's the guy that always just wants to hit the ball over and over again. He's a guy that's fine with being the mastermind.
Exactly. And these two play off of each other so well. I think just to give people a sense of like what the show is, I think I told you and I texted you, it's like what I thought when watching those first few episodes. It's if this was like the last Airbender, it's Aang and Zuko forced to work together in the very like from the first season of Avatar. The show in the first episode, it's not really explored to say like the setup of the show. These two characters are presented on opposite sides, and it show does a really good job of presenting that these two are probably going to be enemies, that they're going to, follow this track of having to face one another down in the court. But then the actual basis of the show is them being on the same team together, and that sets it off into and that's the whole basis of the show, which I thought was a brilliant, I guess, subversion of expectations right off the bat.
Exactly. And a lot of the comedy is based off of these two playing off each other and shitting on each other, because they're rivals right from the get-go. They do have a healthy respect for each other's talents, but they're always just at each other's necks, just basically poking at each other, kind of like aggravating each other. So it's kind of fun to watch.
They make one another be better. They challenge one another to rise to be their best selves, because
exactly.
They work in tandem with each other with their abilities. Like Kageyama is incredibly fast with his sets, to the point where he's used to his teammates not being able to keep up, and Hinata's able to actually do that with his speed. So they're actually the perfect combination.
Yeah, so like in the first episode, like you said, they're set against each other. The very first volleyball match is actually Hinata on one team and Kageyama on the other team, and you really get to see both of their strengths and their flaws right from that first match.
Yeah.
And you get to see Hinata, he's a team player, he's enthusiastic, he's fast, but he's not very refined. Whereas Kageyama is like super refined, but he's not a team player. Mm-hmm. He struggles to have his other teammates catch up with him. So right from the get-go, it's like, oh man, these guys are like a perfect combo for each other. They're like puzzle pieces connected. And that's exactly what happens, is when they are forced to work on the same team, their abilities basically multiply the strength of the overall Karasuno team. And
it's great because it's an introduction to characters that happen organically. This is very much an anime where it starts off with those two guys as the definite protagonists of the show, but then as they meet the Karasuno team, it slowly opens up the world. So it starts off with these two being forced to be on the same team, working together, and then we're introduced to basically everybody else. So I think we can talk about the rest of the team, unless you have anything else to say about them.
Only thing I'll say is, basically Kageyama's. So I would like to say like Hinata is like the avatar of perseverance, basically, and it kind of he's the guy that embodies that never give up spirit. A lot of times in the show they'll say like one more pass, one more toss, one more game. That reoccurs in the show a lot. Is just do one more time, and then
one more time.
Kageyama, his arc, and I think what he kind of becomes is all about overcoming his inability to trust his teammates and to work as a team. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, he's called the king of the court, which people come to think is like, oh, he's like the best at volleyball. But actually, that was a demeaning nickname given to him by his team, where he's kind of like a dictator. He doesn't really play nice with other people, looks down on other people. And so a lot of this show is about him going over that and trying to become a better team player. So he kind of becomes the avatar of like teamwork. So these two components are one of the main gears of the show that keep it going. But anyways, we'll talk about the rest of the team now. So those are the two main characters.
Those are the two main characters, and then we also have, I would say, two more addition. So it's important to say that they're first years. That Hinata and freshmen are freshmen. They're entering Karasuno, which was formerly a powerhouse school for volleyball, and it's not so much anymore. And they're entering this volleyball team, and they're kind of meeting everybody else. But I guess we can sweep the line across to the other first years freshmen who also join the team, because they're also main characters. And it's the next character is someone who I think you and I are both very fond of. Tsukishima
yes, Kei Tsukishima, aka Suki. And like you said, he's the other freshman. Suki is really interesting because he's basically the cynical, snobby character, and he's the least enthusiastic about the game of volleyball, at least in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And all of season 1, you don't really see much of him. It seems like much of the season 1 is centered around the other two freshmen, and Kageyama.
You have to be invested in the show to actually see a payoff in if you invest in Suki, because he is flat and one-dimensional in the first season. I did not like him in the first season because he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he was unlikable. I think they wrote him to be like this sort of standoffish guy that didn't really care about anything. Mm-hmm. He mostly likes to tease and annoy Kageyama. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hinted that maybe he's sort of resentful of Kageyama's superior abilities and stuff. And there's a lot of things that, like, there's hints in the first season of how Suki could be like an intelligent player. Yeah. And he is, but he doesn't really try hard enough to really capitalize on that. However, in season 2 and especially season 3, that's when we really get to see him hit his stride, because he starts off as this sort of unenthusiastic, sort of careless character, and then he becomes someone who learns to love the game and learns to put in effort and to become really, really invested in what he does. And there's a reason as to why he is the way he is. Yeah. In the first season, where he's kind of standoffish and such. Yeah, but he learns to overcome that.
It's really interesting, I guess, a format for the show. It's like it's both, I guess, a good thing and a critique, in the sense of Hinata and Kags have a lot of character development early on. Like there's a lot to them, and it all happens really fast for them. But there comes a point where it feels like most of their arcs, like 75% or 80% of their character arcs, are wrapped up real quickly, and then they're no longer really growing as much as they are just like existing as characters. Still very interesting characters, but Suki, on the other hand, in the latter half of the seasons, in season 2 and season 3, it feels like the only character going through an extreme character development moment, in my opinion, and that's what makes him the most fascinating character in the back half of episodes.
That's a really good point. I agree. It is like, yeah, Hinata and Kageyama in the first season, it's definitely their show. Yeah. But I think season 2 and season 3, it's definitely Suki's show.
Yeah.
Because like you said, Hinata and Kageyama, they are growing, but not to the extent that they were in the first season.
But yeah,
they're kind of refining their abilities, basically.
I like texted you. It's like the arcs that they have in the show are great, but Hinata and Kags in the first about 4 episodes, like they have such a fulfilling arc that I thought,
yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Could have ended right there.
I'm done. Like I don't need to watch anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, there's still 60 episodes to watch.
Exactly. But at that point, see, it's like you're invested. It's like, oh man, this is crazy. Yeah. This is intense. Yeah. Where else can this go? And it basically goes through other characters. You see other characters go through their own pitfalls and their backstories and their growth. And that's the real meat of the show, is everyone as a team is interesting to watch and to learn about and to cheer on. And the other interesting thing about Suki is, so Hinata and Kageyama are rivals, but Suki, at least in season 2 and season 3, Suki kind of becomes Hinata's rival as well.
Yeah. It's like an undercurrent, really, about how... Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so basically they both play the same position. Yeah. So Suki is also a middle blocker like Hinata, but their personalities and playstyles are so very different. So like Suki is also very tall. He's taller than Kageyama, actually, so he's a more natural middle blocker. But his playstyle to Hinata's is very different, because Hinata is he's very bombastic, he's very explosive, whereas Suki is a tall, brooding character, and he's very calculating in all his moves and in his blocks, and in his attacks, and it's just really cool to see 2 approaches to the same position. Yeah. And in that way they're each other's rivals. So they're trying to outplay each other at their own positions. Yep. So yeah.
So that's Suki. That's the third freshman.
Freshman number 3.
There's one more freshman who doesn't really count as to me as a main character.
Me neither. Yeah, he's definitely, I think, still supporting status, but interesting in his own right. His name is Tadashi Yamaguchi. His main, like Suki in the first season, he's pretty much useless, more useless than Suki.
Yeah, he's only there to laugh at Suki's jokes. That's the only reason he exists as a character in the first season.
He is Suki's number 1 fanboy, basically. Yeah. He trails behind him, obeys his every command, cheers him on all the time. I don't know. He's interesting. So that's his main character trait, at least in season 1. But like Suki, later on, like there's hints of what he's going to do in the first season, which really capitalizes itself later on. Basically, he's not a good player. He's below average, but he's the guy that wants to be like the others on the team. He wants to be able to control his body and be good. Yeah. And he decides to divert all of his skill and attention into perfecting one specific move, and it's the jump, float, serve. Yep. And in the beginning,
he's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, basically in the beginning he fucks it up. He's not very good at it, but as you would expect, he does get better at it. And when he eventually does nail the serve, it's like one of the best moments in the series.
It really is. That's, to me, it's one of the only fail success like stories of the show. His arc is a good build. There's a lot of in the show. There's a lot of good, satisfying moments, but we don't see him fail a whole lot. We don't see him trying something and failing, and then have to do it again. They mostly just try it, and then in that moment they succeed. Or if they failed in the past, and they're just now reckoning with it like right now. But Yamaguchi, we actually see start off fresh, and then start this move, and then fail, and then use this move again, fail, and then he just slowly gets better at it. So to me, even though he's like a really side character and doesn't really count for much, he has actually the most fulfilling arc, in my opinion, because I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's kind of the everyman in a way, because he doesn't have the talents or the heights or the physique that the other characters have, but he's still really again, perseverance. It's the main theme of the anime. He works at it until he actually gets what he wants, which is to become a useful member of the team in his own way.
Yeah, he has the passion for volleyball, and he wants to help in any way that he can, so that he can get on the court, which is like a thing that everyone wants.
Yeah, everyone wants to be on that court.
Yep.
Anyways, so that's pretty much all the freshmen. all the first years.
Yeah.
And I think we should naturally move on to the second years.
Okay.
And we will start with none other than Ryunosuke Tanaka. And Tanaka is one of the earliest characters introduced in the team. He's got like a shaved head. He's like the tough guy of the team.
Yeah.
He looks like a tough guy, but he's a bro. I think he's like the most bro-y character.
He is the bro of the show.
Exactly. He's very energetic, enthusiastic as well. Every time he comes across an opponent, he tries to intimidate them with like funny faces, like weird faces.
Yeah.
I would say Tanaka experiences probably the least amount of growth in the series because he's kind of like the most one note,
stable.
Always, stable. Nothing really changes about him.
Reliable is another word, I guess, for him.
Yeah, he's there to kind of pump up the team when they need to be pumped up, and a lot of the comedy, he's the comic relief basically, because a lot of his comedy revolves around him having a crush on the team's manager, which is this girl, and like he's always like trying to talk to her, and he always gets rejected, and
but he loves it.
But he loves getting rejected. So funny. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, the only sense of Tanaka's like character development is that there's one line that the coach tells him. It's like he gets like one section where the coach is like listing off all of his key features, and then it's like he has the makings of an ace. And that's about all he gets. It's like, okay, let's put that on the back burner for now. And we'll deal with that later, but we got other more important things to focus on.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in terms of like characters showing potential now, but not really being the best now. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was I think one of the coolest moments of season 1 was basically Tanaka's kind of facing a mental block, but he pushes through it, and he's a wing spiker. So basically, he's one of the
badass name.
It is Wing Spiker. He's one of the primary offensive characters in the team, and he could be the ace one day.
Maybe.
And that's who knows? I don't know.
I don't
know. So that's Tanaka. He's the comic relief tough guy, bro-y guy. He's cool. I like him, even though he doesn't really go through much.
Yep.
The other second year, his name is Yu Nishinoya, and he is described as being the genius of the Karasuno team. Like next to Kagayama, of course.
Yeah, like the Rock, like
he's their guardian
needed to make their team complete.
Yes, he is the he's a libero, and a libero. You probably looked into this more than I did, but he's basically the player. The position of libero is reserved to the person that purely plays defense.
Yeah,
like I don't think they can move across a certain point in the court. So they have to stay basically in the back. So they're always
ready to receive, and they're always ready to pick up, for like spikes or to pick up the slack of the team. Basically, they're not allowed to cross that front line or hit the ball past the front line. As we learned, he wants to evolve past that. He does a fancy move, but so he's the guardian. He's a great defense player. He picks up any mistake or spikes that the other teams do in order to let his team go on to score points.
Yeah, he's there's this line in the show where it's like as long as the ball, like keep the ball in play. As long as the ball's in play, they can't score. So that's kind of like his thing is he needs to keep the ball in play so that his team has a chance to score over and over and over again. And he's shorter than even Hinata, and Hinata's pretty short.
Yeah,
but he's shorter than Hinata, but that's not why he plays libero. He explains like he plays it because he loves the position. He loves making crazy receives, and he makes crazy receives in the show. Those are fun to watch.
Yeah,
and he's basically on the same level as Tanaka. He's kind of he's the comic relief as well. He is a crush on the manager. Like those two are the bros. Those two
they work together for sure.
Are a pair, and they're always making the funny jokes and stuff.
It's I guess that's the biggest thing to say about him, because it's interesting that he has those character traits of being the guardian and I'm trying to kind of supporting the team when they mess up, because that's also if it's all right to segue to the third years now, because that's also it's probably the biggest character trait that the captain has. His name's Daichi. What's his first name?
Uh, Daichi Sawamura.
Daichi Sawamura, who is the captain of the team. He's a third year, and he very much is like Nishinoya in the sense of he wants to pick up the team's slacks. What's his position? What's Daichi's position officially?
Isn't he a wing spiker as well?
He is, yeah. But he always wants to. He's
Maybe
really
not.
great at receives. And he really wants to. And he does. My point is that he serves basically the same purpose as Nishinoya.
Yeah, he's the calm, centered rock of the team, and his receiving abilities are basically they're not on par with Nishinoya. I think Nishinoya is like really the defense guy.
Yeah.
Whereas Sawamura is like he's like the good, decent, solid defense guy. He's basically the dad of the team. Everyone's always afraid of him getting mad, and he's always the guy to kind of like inspire people, give them the inspiring speech. He's probably the most generic character, but still really likable, just because of how simple he is. He's just like he's a guy that's
good guy.
That works
Daichi
hard. Good guy Daichi. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a guy you want to hang out. You know.
Yeah. That's what I thought when I first saw him. He looked so incredibly bland because, like, besides, I would say besides Tanaka, he is the most boringly drawn.
That's true. Yeah,
he doesn't have much features. He doesn't have much personality. I could easily mistake him for any of the other few members on the team.
Yeah, he's basically the way you differentiate all the members of the team is through their hair, and his hair is just like it's just short brown hair basically. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else has got crazy hairstyles. But he's a cool guy.
He's necessary. All of them. That's like even though. That's one of my notes for later on in the show. It's like even though most of these characters I don't think are that interesting on their own, like separately, like I would never watch a Daichi spinoff. no matter how much the show tries to push him and the female volleyball coaches like romance, like on like little side quest, I'm not gonna watch that. I'm sorry, but
I don't know. I'd probably watch that.
To see
now that you mentioned it, that's kind of I don't know.
Well,
who knows where that could go? It'll be called Daichu.
Daichu. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, never mind. I'm sold. I'll watch it. But even though they're not great, I guess on their own as much, it shows how each of them have a certain skill that, when put together as a machine, and that they work together really well, and that's what makes them great characters is with their interaction with one another.
Exactly. Yes, like the best part about this anime is just watching the team just hang out with each other, just talk to each other, joke around with each other. That's like one of the most entertaining parts of the show. Is you come to love this team. It's like you're hanging out with like the guys. You know, it's like Daichi's mad again. Okay, so the other third year, his name is Asahi Azumane, and Asahi is the ace. He's the ace is basically like the best spiker. He's the guy that you toss the ball to whenever you need to make a point, because basically they're the tall, really powerfully built people that can like basically blast through a block if they need to. And he, despite him, he's this massive dude. He's got kind of like an intimidating look. He's got like a man bun with some chin stubble. But he's a very gentle giant and is rather docile.
And he gets really anxious a lot.
Yeah, and because of this, he's kind of the punching bag to the rest of the team, particularly the other 30 years like Daichi and Sugawara. They both like to pick on him because he's kind of a pushover. Yeah, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, but he's a solid addition. He is the ace. He is a power spiker. Is he wing spiker? Is that like
I think he's definitely a wing spiker.
Yeah, he's a wing spiker, but he has power, and he drives the team to victory because the ace is expected to score. You know, the ace of a team is supposed to be the one you pass the ball to. That ace is going to score.
Yeah, and he has a small arc in the first season, which relates to basically overcoming a mental block.
Yeah.
After suffering a crushing defeat where all his spikes were just blocked mercilessly, one after the other. So there's kind of a small arc involving him getting over that, and that involves him, Nishinoya, and Sugawara.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite moments of the first season, actually, is watching him get over that.
Is having his arc from start to end, like even if it's short amount of time, is very fulfilling. But to me, it's like that's still part of, I guess, one of those earlier critiques that I saw earlier. It's just like that he has his arc done early on, and then he's just there. Like they don't really do much with him after after season 1, episode 15 or so. There's really not much to his character, which is a shame because he's still a really interesting character to watch, and he's a vital part of the team, and he's great. But he doesn't really have anything after that,
Yeah, I agree. It's true, and that is true of a lot of the characters in the team. But yeah, a lot of the entertainment is from their interactions and stuff. Even though some of them don't grow that much.
Yeah,
you still wanna watch them and cheer them on and stuff.
Yeah.
So the last third year, and I guess the last member of the Karasuno team, his name is Koshi Sugawara, and AKA Suga. I like to say he's the sugar of the team. He's the sweet guy. That. Yeah, Suga. He's the nice guy. Yeah. He's there to offer an encouraging word.
What position does he play?
He was the official setter. So he was a setter before Kageyama came in. Yeah, and so that's kind of an interesting conflict in the first season is Kageyama comes in, he's hot stuff, he's like the best setter ever. But Suga, even though he's a third year, he has seniority over him, so technically he should still be the official setter. But what I like a lot about Suga is that he's like man enough to basically step down and let the newcomers shine.
Yeah, and if it's best for the team.
Yes,
like
so
he'll happily step aside.
He'll do what's best for the team, and I really respect him for that. I think he's my favorite character.
Really?
He was in the first season, definitely. As the seasons went on, though, I think it might have shifted to Suki.
Yeah.
But I still really like Suga, because even in the later seasons, I like him a lot. He's like I said, he's not the best, but I think what he lacks in like raw talent that Kageyama has, he has the experience of being a team player. So there's a moment in the first season where Kageyama is called off and then Suga becomes a setter. And then that's when I really liked him, was because you get to see him actually play his position.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, he is actually pretty talented. He's pretty good at this.
Yeah, he's got his own abilities. And his main ability, though, is to draw out the best in the other team members, because he'll coordinate with them. He'll say, hey, make sure you do this, or try this out next time, that kind of thing. And yeah, even though he's not on the starting line, he still works his ass off.
He still usually plays, like, especially later on in the later seasons, they find like a rhythm or a groove where they can call Kageyama off for like a little bit. Like usually, like Kageyama will start, but then like halfway through, so they kind of switch to Suga just for like a little bit, just to mix it up and to introduce like a breath of fresh air. So like even though they start off as kind of not rivals, because there's rivals in this show, but then the way that the show portrays it is in a really positive way. Like they say to one another in the sense like, if you're not good enough, I'm going to be good enough and I'm going to replace you. And in a lot of other animes, that can come across as really like mean spirited and enemy like, but here it's not. It's everyone encouraging everyone to be their best. So when Suga says to Kags, it's like, I want to be on that court and I'm not going to stop trying. It's not really a threat. It pushes Kags to be even better than he is, which is great.
Exactly. And yeah, I just like Suga a lot, because his play style is more tactical.
Yeah.
Instead of like very fast, like Kags likes to set really fast balls, where he's a little slower, but he's a little more methodical.
He knows his teammates pretty well.
Yeah.
And he has silver hair, which is different.
Yeah, that's weird. Is he an old man or something? I don't know. So that's Karasuno. That's all the characters
powerhouse,
of the team.
The Crows.
There's actually 3 more second years. One of them kind of gets an arc in the second season, and the other 2 are still just ignored. So I don't know what's going to happen to them. Maybe we'll talk about them a little bit later on.
They're barely used, and it's like they're barely drawn as well. Like the one that they brought in is like the one who has like a little bit of an arc in the second season. Really is just, I would say, a Daichi first draft, like a first pass on Daichi is. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, let's make up some slight changes. I don't even know his name. Do you know his name?
Yeah, I actually have him here.
Yeah, what's
his name? Is Chikara Enoshita.
Enoshita, yeah. He has a really great arc for like an episode, which is cool, but then
one episode.
It disappears off to the sidelines again.
Yeah, and then that's funny. What's funny is even the other two characters, I don't know their names because they don't.
No,
they
I
didn't
don't
have
know.
any arcs.
One of them's a blonde one, and the other one looks exactly like Tanaka.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm
Yeah,
pretty
he's got
sure
the
you
shades
could
and
like
everything.
replace the episode with like that guy could they could use the second year's face and like put him as, and they'll just call him Tanaka, and I would not know the
No,
difference.
yep.
Like, I'm just, oh, this is
No.
Tanaka, obviously.
It's funny because even when they're on the court, like in the brief moments where they're like, "All right, your turn to get on the court," they still don't get screen time. It's just like
they're there, but
yeah, they're playing.
One time,
but we don't know anything
like,
about them. They don't get any backstory. We don't. I don't even know their names. But that's pretty funny. I wonder if they'll explore them more, which again we'll talk about later. But yeah, those are all the characters.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a
overall,
there's a lot of characters.
Very very solid cast of main characters, and very likable, very entertaining to watch. I don't think there's a single character in this anime, including the extended cast of characters, which includes all the opposing teams, all the coaches, including all those characters. I don't think there's a single character in this anime that I dislike.
I will. When we talk about when we kind of open this up to more spoilerific stuff, there will be a character that I want to talk about who I actually don't like, and I think doesn't fit into this anime. So
Okay, I might have a guess as to who it is.
Okay,
but we'll talk about it later. So yeah, now we're going to talk about volleyball in the anime, like how the sport is actually portrayed in the sports anime. I think one of the most important things about a sports anime is that the layman gets to understand what's going on, even though they wouldn't know anything about the sport.
Yeah.
Or maybe they making sure the matches are interesting and stuff. So yeah, we're gonna get a little bit more into that.
So this is the volleyball section. Oh yeah,
the volleyball section.
Did you know? What did you know about volleyball going into this?
You have a ball and you volley it over the net, and if it touches the ground on your side, then the other team gets a point.
That's about what I knew as well. Like,
yeah, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Like they as long as you understand that kind of basic concept, they'll kind of give you even the most basic rules as they talk kind of casually about it. That's kind of one of the main things I like about it is like you learn about this anime in a very natural way.
Yeah, like they don't just dump all the information at you at once. They start off really simple. Like they'll introduce you to as the show started off as you know Hinata's role as he wants to be a spiker and like how that feels, and then Kageyama's role as the setter and like what the setter does for the team, and then you know you get the libero like what he does, and you get you know the wing spikers like why that's important stuff. So then you start getting into more of their positions and patterns and stuff for like how they function and certain moves of the sport that's done in a it's done interesting. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, the way that they present information. Sometimes it's very logical, but there's one element that I don't like for like a lot of these matches, that there's always two spectators or at least two people or someone, whether it's two guys who were part of a volleyball team before, whether it's the coach and the coach advisor, or whether it's the girls on the other team, or whether it's fans. There's always two people just talking over almost everything about what's happening in the moment.
I agree, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, and it definitely breaks the flow. Like when in the middle of a match, they'll either score a point or they'll be in the middle of a point, and then there'll be people on the sidelines like, well, I wonder what's going to happen next. And then he'll say, well, that was a strategy they used back in the other game, and it's called this and that. And it can get repetitive. It does break the flow.
But sometimes it's really good. Like I'll admit that. Like sometimes it functions for the story, and sometimes I need that to understand kind of what the heck is happening.
Yeah, I could have done with less of it because, like you said, it's sometimes it seemed unnecessary, and mostly they're also just there to serve as like a reaction to what's happening, like an outside perspective. Like so, it's not always people on the court. So I understand why it's there. I just think they could have done maybe a better job of balancing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like the drip feed of knowledge we get of volleyball, I think is done at a very gradual, natural pace, and especially when they do it in a way where it's like you said, when Kageyama, when he explains the role of the setter, it's not just because he's explaining it like exposition style. He's explaining it because he's passionate about it, and he's explaining to Hinata. He's like, no, you idiot, setters don't exist without the set, or no, spikers don't exist without the setter. Like the setter is a control tower. He's the guy coordinating everything.
Yeah.
And like you really understand.
And Hinata's just like, I just want to hit
why
it.
he wants. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you understand why Kageyama wants to be the setter and why it's important. And also you also learn like what the position actually does and what it entails.
Yep.
And as the show goes on, you get introduced to increasingly more complex strategies and plays that they do. And one episode in particular in the second season, it's like a crash course in like advanced volleyball techniques where you learn about things like tempo, like a very specific way to set the ball so that it's like it like stops midair before like falling. It's really interesting actually.
It is, and it's what I find interesting about that is that comes so late. A lot of animes would have that chunk of episodes where you're kind of learning everything there is to know really about volleyball within the first maybe 10 episodes or so. So, but no, this one goes at least 25 episodes before they even begin to kind of really get into the specifics of volleyball and advanced techniques, which is good and bad, I think.
Yeah, I like it a lot because it's like the team itself didn't really need the advanced techniques, and as a viewer, you didn't really need to know any of that stuff. And it also makes sense from a narrative perspective because if they introduced all the advanced stuff in the beginning, then the characters wouldn't have anywhere to really grow. So I kind of like that they kind of set it out gradually so that the characters grow not just as characters, but also in terms of their skills and like what they can do. So it's like every season they introduce like a new concept that makes watching the matches more interesting because it's not just the same thing over and over again. It's like
not just hitting the ball back and forth.
No, yeah, they employ various different strategies, and that's actually a hallmark of Karasuno as a team is that they are known for almost recklessly having a reckless variety of attacks and trying new things, experimenting. So it makes sense from a narrative perspective, from like I guess a lore perspective in terms of like what Karasuno is known for, and also for the viewer to really experience learning about the game as the show goes on. So I really like that.
Yeah. So it got me interested in volleyball, long story short.
Yeah, once I finished the first season, I wanted to play volleyball.
Yeah, now I do too. If we're in the same state, we'll play some volleyball.
Yeah, you remember when we played volleyball?
Yeah.
On that beach.
Yeah,
this is so big to the listener.
Volleyball on the beach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason I wanted to play was because of this anime.
And I see next time we're gonna get some people together. We're gonna play.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's good. This anime does its job where it makes you want to play the sport. I don't think we've reviewed other animes before. We played we've reviewed Chihara Faru, which is a card one. It's like maybe I want to try that. We reviewed Kaiju, which is the boobs and butt smacking one. I
want to really try that.
I would pass on that one. Ping pong, it's like it didn't make me want to play ping pong. It just made me watching ping pong interesting. This one makes me actually want to play volleyball.
Definitely, same here. So yeah, the next thing we'll talk about is the actual matches itself. So team against team, the volleyball matches, it's the real meats of the show. So it's important that they nail this part. And
do you think they succeed or fail?
I think they succeed. I think they succeed because each match is intense and engaging in their own way. And it's also fresh. Like each match is like, there's like an underlying story being told as the points are being racked up by each team. And it could be a story about like the team learning to work together, or maybe one character is seeking to prove something, a character overcoming a struggle.
Yeah.
And that makes it, that sort of undercurrent of narrative makes each match feel new and interesting. And
it has the potential to be a double-edged sword in the sense, because when you watch a sports anime, you expect there to be a lot of the sport. So you want like a lot of whatever you're watching, but it also risks becoming a little stale because they're up against another team and they also they got to hit the ball back and forth. Like how do you make that interesting? And this does a really great job, like you said, of having teams that have like a specific trait to overcome. Like they fight someone's like the Iron Wall. Date Tech's Iron Wall. Date Tech is the team name, and they have like a really advanced blocking set. Or they face someone who has a setter who is just insane. Or they face a team with Spiker who just cannot be blocked. Or they have someone who's just a team that doesn't really have a lot of talent, but they have one guy on it who's just extremely tall And it's like, how do we beat that? Like that's
Yeah, exactly.
So there's always something on about the other team that's different than what came before. And even when you have like repeat matches against like the same teams as you have a few times throughout this anime, it doesn't feel like a rehash because the characters have learned so much since the last time they played. So it's different enough to be engaging and to show them implement the stuff they've learned in order to make each match kind of really refreshing. So good on you, Haikyuu.
Yeah, even when the team is going up against another team that's obviously not as good as them, there's still a story there. Like, and usually from when it gets to that point, the perspective kind of shifts to the sort of underdog team compared to Karasuno. So they'll go up against a team that's like maybe they didn't practice as hard or something like that. But in the match, they're learning to like, oh man, I didn't practice, but I'm gonna try really hard in this match because I love this game and I want to stay in the court and all that. So yeah, there's always a story to tell with the matches. And during the matches, there's a variety of perspectives being played that are shown as the game is being played. Like we mentioned before, there's the spectators, but we'll also see perspectives from each of the members of the team, each of the members of the opposing team, the coaches from each of the teams. So yeah, it bounces around a lot.
So yeah, really it's a lot of sports animes can seem really one-sided in the sense of just seeing your heroes or your good guys, but you don't really get that with this anime. You're just if we didn't know Karasuno was the main characters, basically, like we just were dropped into a match. For a lot of the teams, I don't think we would know who to be rooting for, like really, because they're both.
Yeah, they're all well developed. Yeah. The players on both sides are well developed, and the other important part about seeing perspectives from both sides of the court is that you get to see their expectations. Because you'll see like maybe there's one specific scene where one of the team's blockers has marked Hinata, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna block this guy's spike, and then the spike actually ends up being somewhere else, and it's like, oh
what?
Snap, whoa. So it's like if we saw that purely from like Karasuno's side, it would have been like, oh, okay, so they're just pulling off that move. But because we got the chance to see it from the opponent's side, it really drives home the strategy that Karasuno is able to implement. And I just like that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
so that's an overview of I guess matches. Matches are done really well.
And now we shall talk about the antagonist.
See, the antagonist is tough to talk about without, I guess, putting more of a spoiler warning on this than before. Because it's because if we're talking about antagonists for the show, we got to kind of talk about antagonists throughout the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, we could kind of talk about like generally, like what I will say about it generally is that basically what I said before, the antagonists make each match feel fresh because there's a variety of opponents that they have to face with different traits and stuff. And what's interesting about them too is in the span of an episode, you can get the backstory, the motivation, and the personality of an opponent team like really quickly, and you'll understand them. And that is really interesting because some animes don't even do that. Like even the team that they face in just one episode will have their own developments. And I think it's impressive because a lot of other sports animes, if it's just like a random team or like a random, I don't know, if it's just
opponent,
like
it won't devote the time necessary to make them well-rounded characters.
You won't even see anything from their perspective. You won't know their name. You won't know anything about them. But this show does a really good job of making sure that it takes the time to really flesh out everyone on the court, not just Karasuno.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean in general, shows that with great villains, I think great villains can make a show, and this show definitely has its.
And what makes a great villain is making them at least understandable and.
You can sympathize with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even when Karasuno beats the team, and you kind of see the other team lose, and they kind of walk off the court all sad. You kind of feel bad for them too.
Yeah, because
you got to
they'll
know
usually
them.
break down and cry because they wanted it too. Because
everyone cries.
Everyone in this show loves volleyball with a passion and wants to keep going. and wants to stay on the court, which is like an overall mantra of the show. It's like, I just want to stay on the court for one more game. And they all want to do that. But you can't in a tournament because you get eliminated.
So yeah, we can talk a little bit more about the antagonists in the spoiler section at the end.
Yeah.
But overall, antagonists, very good. And then there is the team. So the team itself, I guess we don't have to spend too much time on this.
Yeah,
we already kind of talked about it.
Pretty in depth before. Each team member brings something new. They're each an individual cog that, when put together, and if they can learn to function properly, then they create like a fantastic golden, well-oiled machine. But it just takes some time, and that's what the show's about.
And again, the funnest part about the show is the interactions between the different players, and it's what makes the team lovable is seeing them share moments between volleyball games, like when they're not practicing volleyball, like when they're off the court. They'll have like their own funny, silly moments, like if they're eating or, if they're just chilling out, talking and stuff. That's what makes them feel believable and likable. But yeah, basically the team, awesome. And then the animation. So the animation is really interesting. So I don't think the animation is particularly special, but it does use very specific techniques to make the volleyball matches very interesting. And I think there's 3 techniques in particular.
Okay.
There is the slow down. I think they usually do this whenever, they have to like kind of stretch out a moment to, unordinary amounts of time to kind of build up the tension and ramp up the expectations to make a bigger payoff, basically.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of times time will slow down when Hinata's up in the air and he's like looking for a place to spike the ball. And the second technique is exaggeration. So they'll do this a lot where like if like someone really tall is like blocking, you'll see like their hands kind of like cover the whole screen and like curve towards the viewer to kind of like to sort of exaggerate how foreboding this human wall of hands can be. Or maybe if someone's like really fast, like they'll have like hard edge lines on their sides to show you like, look at how fast they're going. And then the last technique they use is visual metaphors. So they'll use kind of like motifs in the match to basically make a point.
Yeah.
Like they'll have literal, like to show a divide between team members. They will literally show like a giant crack in the gym floor, like a huge canyon between players to show that they're divided. Or they'll like the crow. Like the crow is Karasuno's mascot. They'll often show like crow feathers
if they're up, or if the crow
motifs whenever they're flying and spiking.
Or there's a giant wall in front of like a spiker or something that they have to open the gates to get through. And what's great is that because they use it.
Yeah.
They use it they don't overuse it. There's a lot of matches where there's usually like maybe like one every match or so. Like for 60 episodes for every match, I think it could have been a motif or could have been a technique that could have been really just overused because we keep seeing it a whole lot. But using it sparingly makes it really exciting for me. Because at first I thought it was a criticism for the show. It's like, man, we don't really see a lot of visual things that we see. Like in the very first episode, you get a really cool flare when Hinata first meets Kageyama. And Kageyama walks by. There's a brief flash of Kageyama in a cape and a king's crown, and like there's an all white background, and it flourishes. It's a good metaphor for him being the king of the court. And then that's like not really used again for like quite some time. But then once the show actually does an element like that, it's really satisfying, and so I applaud the show for that.
Yeah, I agree. They could have used it consistently, but because they only used it when it mattered, it made those moments just much more special. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree. So yeah, the animation, the techniques they use just make make watching the show a lot more entertaining. Like they could have just gone with the pure volleyball setup, but no, they spiced it up a bit.
Besides, the volleyball, the oftentimes poorly designed characters on the team.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're really boring.
And there's a huge, I think you mentioned it too, there's a huge jump in quality, I think, in the Christmas between the first season and the second season.
Yeah, and I actually don't, because like, I watched season 1, and then I waited, I think a few weeks, no, actually, Yeah, so I watched season 1 twice, and then I watched season 2 like a week after, and so I was able to know, like, yeah, season 2, episode 1, the animation is just like super sharp.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not actually not sure if they maintain that quality throughout the season, or if I just got used to it.
Yeah, the first episode is usually has more to it than
to really draw you in. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'd have to really make a comparison, but definitely noticeable. Season 2, episode 1.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, again, very solid. Thumbs up for that. And second to last thing.
Yeah, we'll go to the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack.
What's your favorite opening? There's this show. This has 3 seasons and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 openings. Which opening is your favorite?
My favorite is season 3's opening.
That's a good one.
Season 3 has one opening. Yeah, I just love that one. I love that one because the animation that goes with it is really cool, and the song is really catchy.
Yeah,
I generally wasn't a fan of the other openings.
Yeah, you really weren't. I actually really liked the very first one. I thought that one was was awesome, and that was, it got me pumped up after a while. And I thought the second one kind of sucked. To be honest, that's why when I texted you, it was like, man, the second one's vastly inferior to the first one. You're like, I don't like either of them. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the first one was, I think it was okay, but like it was, I don't think the first one is definitely popular. I think a lot of people like the first one.
I don't remember any of them in the second season, I guess.
Yeah, the second season's ones were not memorable at all. I
remember the third one because it was recent and it's really cool. And I remember the first one because I liked it, and I remember the second one because I didn't like it. So I was like, that's why I remember it, but I just don't remember the other two.
Yeah, they weren't very good. But overall, the other soundtracks in the anime, I think, do a really good job of like highlighting the emotion you're supposed to feel, as you're watching the scenes. There's a character named Oikawa Toru, and he has his own theme song, which I think is like awesome. It's like kind of got like a funky vibe to it.
Oh yeah, it does. Like whenever, like oh yeah.
There's a song called Team Potential, and then there's a song called An Interesting Team. And the overall the tunes are kind of like the final puzzle piece that really completes this awesome show. It's kind of like the cherry on top, basically. It's
not overdone like other sports animes. Chihara Faru season 1.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they do play. Of course, it's a soundtrack, so they have to play the same song over and over again.
Yeah.
But whenever they do, it never gets old to me, man. Like I listened to the Haikyuu soundtrack on YouTube once when I was at work, and
I should do that.
It pumped me up, man. Got me wanting to play some volleyball.
Yeah.
So soundtrack,
it's great. It's not overpowering, but it's nice. It really amps up any system well. Yeah. So I guess the kind of the final section before we get into more spoilerific talks is just talk about the general theme of the show itself, which we kind of touched upon a lot in this last hour or so. What do you think the theme of the show is, if you had to sum it up?
I think there are 2 main themes. One of them is perseverance.
Yep.
That is just hammered home clearly from the very first episode and throughout the series. Like I said, they say like moi pai or moi pai or moi kai. They say one more toss or like one more spike, one more match, one more game. Let's try this technique one more time.
Yep. Let's not give up. When they always say there's a great tendency in the show for whenever a character messes up, they'll always break down basically in tears and try to apologize, and then somebody will always say to him, "Shake it off, don't worry, we'll get the next one." Like
exactly,
it happens to literally every character.
Exactly, and that's the theme. Just don't give up. And then the other theme is, I think would definitely be teamwork, like making sure, like just having each other's back, because a lot of the support, volleyball is a team game, and a lot of the support and success of each of the characters comes from everyone else in the team. And there's a lot of moments in here where a team like Karasuna will learn to work together as a team. Kagayama will learn to trust his teammates, and there will also be other teams going through sort of similar growth as well, where maybe the one team is like a one-man kind of team, and I don't know. There's a lot of teamwork stuff in this anime. I
completely agree. Those are the 2 I would say biggest takeaways. To always do your best to stay on the court longer. Don't give up.
So that's our overall minor spoiler discussion, and I think it's
it gives you a good overview of the show.
Yeah.
Hopefully you want to watch it if you haven't already.
And before we give our conclusion, we're going to get into a spoiler section. We're going to talk about a little more liberally about our favorite moments were and about certain aspects of the show, and also what we think will happen in the future. So I'll make sure to put a timestamp in the description so you can skip ahead if you haven't seen the anime. But yeah, spoiler talk begins right
Spoiler
now.
alert. So this show, so now we can let loose. This is Anime Ricochet After Dark.
After Dark. Rated X.
Rated X.
The red line.
This is where we get real. Where I can where we can shoot the shit.
We can
about
safely shit all over this anime now.
Which we won't show it to, even though I guess I have a lot of more specific critiques, but I just want to make it clear that it doesn't detract overall from the show. I think this is a great bingeable show that I flew through. I can't believe I watched 60 episodes of this. Like, if I had to take a break because of work, but if I didn't have that break, I would have watched 60 episodes. It would have been the fastest I've ever watched 60 episodes of a television show.
I agree. It's got that element of you just want to know what happens. You just want to know what's going to happen in the next match. What's going to happen in the next match, and it's just I can't say enough good about the show. I love it a lot. I think the critiques I have for the show have already been mentioned. Mostly, it's the spectator stuff. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention. I think my main critique of the show, and this probably could have gone in the non-spoiler section, but I'll put it right here. So I think my main pet peeve in the show is it uses flashbacks in a retarded way. Sometimes, they'll have a moment, and then literally a scene later, the flashback to that moment that just happened. It's dude, that just happened. I saw that. That's the only.
Or the flashback. They flashback multiple times.
Yeah,
to the same thing.
Yeah, they do, and sometimes it gets annoying. I mostly just hate it when the flashback happens so soon after the moment that they flashback to literally just happened.
Yeah,
that's my main critique.
That's the most, I guess, just going through the show, I touched upon it before, but the show plays it's a risky gamble because, as I said, the first 4 episodes are basically an entire story. They hate each other. They both have dreams of being the best. They have to learn to work together. They learn they aren't that different, and then they start working together, and they master a technique that they use together, and then they're great, we're awesome now. And then that's episode 4. It's wow. Where do we go from here? And that both works for the show for its good and its detriment, because it's surprising that everything wrapped up that fast, but it took a while for the next arc for them to kind of begin. Because I think really the weakest episodes are the ones after episode 4. I think for episodes 4 through just till the next part
until the tournament, basically.
Kind of, I forgot when the tournament takes place, because introducing all the teammates are important, but then it doesn't really do much with Hinata and Kags. Because after episode 4, Kags has this whole thing where it's wow, Kageyama has changed so much since we last saw him. But it's we didn't know Kageyama before that. Before we met him, and he immediately was changing.
Yeah, that's true. No, I agree. I mean, they do explore other characters when, for example, after episode 4, there is that whole thing with Asahi. Like I said, one of my favorite moments. So they let other characters have their time to shine. But I do agree, especially in season 2 and season 3. Although I think season 2 and season 3, to be fair, they're kind of the same season, because season 3 is just the last match of the tournament. Yeah. So that could really be lumped in with season 2. But anyways, so season 2, Hinata and Kageyama, in terms of characters, they don't change. What changes is their abilities.
They don't get. They get. As I said, I kept writing after a bunch of episodes in season 1. Every time an episode ended, when I made a note about the episode, usually when I made note is, what's Hinata's arc gonna be? Where does he go from here?
And that's what I really wanted to talk about too. So we're in the spoiler section. Season 3, they win against Ushiwaka or Shiratorizawa, which is the top tier school of the region, which means they get to go to nationals. And now here's my question is, so one is, how long is the national season going to be? You think it's going to be 1 season or 2 seasons? 2, do you think they're going to win it, or are they going to lose it? And what the possibilities are going to be? I just want to know what your thoughts on that.
If they're going to win nationals?
Yeah. Because I could see. No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, so they're going to go to nationals, and the way I see it, they play out. They have 2 teams to face in nationals that they got it, which is like the end all. They have I have this written down. Date Tech's not going, but who is going is Fukuro Dani, who has that's Bakudo's team, the white spiky hair ace guy.
Yeah, the owl dude.
And then the other one is Nekoma, which is their rival school. You know, the fallen crow. The cat crow, which like it seems like that's setting up as like the final match, even though that is my critique. It's one of my questions. Is like I don't care about that match. Like there's nobody interesting on Nekoma. There's Kenma.
Yeah, that's true.
Who is like the boring setter, like who just needs to be inspired. But there's not really there's not someone like Okiawa.
Yeah. That's true.
Who is to me the best antagonist for them? Way better than someone like
Ushiwaka.
Yeah, Ushijima. Yeah, Wakatoshi Ushijima, the guy on Shiro Towazawa.
Yeah,
he's a good unseen threat, but like watching him play, it's just like he's kind of cool, but he has no personality. Like he was not a good final bad guy. Like we were talking about how all the antagonists really have like a backstory. I know nothing about Ushijima. Like, I was projecting my own thoughts. I was like, I'm going to guess this is like ping pong, and he's like the dragon, and maybe his father killed himself, and now he wants to play volleyball.
Yeah, so I agree, because Oikawa was, I liked Oikawa because like he was kind of like the cocky ladies' man, but like his team members kept him in check. Like, he'd be like, shut up, you're not that hot. It's like, it's funny. Like, I like that. And and he's got history with Kagayama. Like, he was jealous that Kagayama was kind of like basically about to replace him, but then he kind of went through his own thing where he was like, you know what, I'm gonna be the best, and I'm gonna do my best, and he becomes the best. He becomes like this ultra setter basically.
Yeah, he's a great foil for both of them. Which I guess a little side note, as you said, like he keeps being undercut by his team. That's something I wish I mentioned earlier on. Every moment of success in the show, everything that. Every time that they succeed or someone does something cool, it's usually immediately always undercut with just like, no, you're stupid. Or they every time they perfect a move once, they try the move again immediately afterwards, they fail.
And they fail,
like always, every single time.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. Yeah, that's like, because like you said, it's like when you said Yamaguchi was the only one that like failed over and over again, I disagree, because like you said, like they showed a lot of times where they failed at a technique. And like when, for example, when Nishinoya tries the set, like when he tries to, because like so liberos, they can't cross the line, but like to get around that, the libero will like jump over it, and then they can become like a setter basically. So when they try they tried that in the match too, and then they failed, but eventually they got it.
They do fail a lot. I guess I misspoke when I said that, when it's like fail over and over again. But I guess in the first season and more so, did they lose a match? It took a while for like. Yeah,
they lost the last one, but that was it.
Yeah, but I was.
They lost a few. They lost
a few. So I guess I misspoke when I said that. But anyway, I guess back to your initial question of like what's going to happen. So the only way I can see it going is that this show is like, maybe, I guess if it's popular enough, which it seems it is, it will continue on the year following without any of the third years.
Yeah.
But I feel like they can, whatever the fourth season will just be nationals, and then because you have other teams you need to face. Again, you have the ones we talked about, the Bukado's team and Nekoma, which seems like has to be the final match.
Yeah, so they're setting up right now that Fukuro Dani and Nekoma, neither of them are, I think, set to go to nationals yet. I think they're going against each other because they're both Tokyo teams. I think they're both going against each other to see which one of them is going to nationals. I think. Well, so I'm pretty sure.
So then, who do you think will win?
Well, okay. Here's my theory: is if I don't know who's gonna win, but if it's Fukuro Dani, then I think definitely it's gonna go past nationals, because Nekoma is kind of set to be like the ultimate showdown.
It's the end all team.
They're the big bad team. They're the ultimate rival that they're gonna face off against. If Nekoma wins, then it's possible that Karasuno and Nekoma face off in the finals of the nationals. And then if Karasuno wins, they could just end the show right there. And that's the thing. That's my concern, is because there is still so much that they could do with the show, because one, they set it up. They have a lot of characters in the show where it's like, one day he's like Tanaka. One day he can be a good ace, or like one day there's like that one guy on Date Tech. He was like the freshman, like the tall
Date
awkward
Tech,
freshman.
Yeah, the one who. Oh, it's great. Aone, I believe his name is. I have him.
Yeah, he's kind of like the awkward freshman guy, but he's like the third part of the Iron Wall, but he's still new, so he's not like that great. And then so they said like, oh, this guy, he's gonna be a monster one day. So it's all there's a lot of characters that are like, one day this guy, he's gonna be really good. This guy. So that's
okay. See that in 4 years.
Exactly. That's like easy material to work into if they go past nationals. And I do think it'll be interesting to see a Karasuno where Hinata and Kageyama are the second years, and then the second years become the third years, and then they kind of become the leaders. Because right now, the third years, they're all the leaders. And then Hinata, like the first years and second years stepping up, would be like, oh, we get to see them in a new light. We get to see them face new challenges as being like,
but then what's their goal? To win nationals again?
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Is that would be like my fear is we would just be seeing the same shit over and over again, because that means they'd have to be qualified for nationals, which means they'd be going up against the same team as these last 3 seasons, and then. I just don't know. Like, and
the only way to make it satisfying, and it's like, but then either or, that's if this team right now, the Karasuno goes to nationals, if they lose at nationals, right? If they lose, then that gives them more of a driving force. It's like then the third year's passed off to the second years. It's like we were close to being a powerhouse school. We're not quite yet. Next year we will be.
Yeah,
but then that kind of sucks. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Because then it's a complete story if they win nationals this year.
It would be a complete story. But I could see them delaying it where they would lose, because there would be definitely like an emotional punch where like the third years they sacrifice so much of their studying time and their future potentially, and they end up losing at nationals. But
it's so sad.
But Karasuno has a much stronger foundation to work off of for the following years. But I think my main fear that I'm trying to get at is like, I hate it when shows go past, like they stay past their welcoming point. I don't know if I said that right, but like, when it goes too long. And it would be a very great and complete story if they won nationals. And I would prefer that to them dragging out the show through several years.
Me too.
You know what I mean? But I could still see like, there is something there that I'd want to see. So I'm like kind of torn. I'm kind of conflicted. And I don't know. Like you said, if it's popular enough, they'll definitely gonna extend it. And it does seem like it's pretty popular, which I'm worried about, because I don't really like animes that go on for too long, like Naruto or Bleach.
Yeah.
Like the shonen, like typical shonen mangas.
Yeah, the ones that
they go forever. And it's
so I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see
what happens. Yeah, and and the other thing too is like, if they do win nationals, it'd be kind of like, really, they win nationals? It's like a lot of them aren't like, I don't know how to say it. It's like it doesn't seem as realistic if they make it all the way to winning nationals, like just because these freshmen joined,
because they inspired them. Yeah, but maybe we'll get to see if nationals. We'll see some. It's nationals are like all over the world. No, because they're not part of an Olympic team or anything like that, are they?
It's just Japan. The different prefectures in Japan. So I think they're in Miyagi, the Miyagi prefecture, and then there's a Tokyo one, which is going to be decided who's representing them between Fukurodani and Nakoma. And that is interesting that you mentioned that Nakoma doesn't really have a nice villain for them to face off. Oikawa was like the perfect.
Oikawa was perfect.
The bad dude of the first 2 seasons. He was like a badass. That's his character.
He was dangerous, but he had
song.
Yeah, he did, and he had personality, which again, Ushijima did not have.
He literally had no personality.
I was expecting him to at least kind of crumble a little bit, like in the final match, and like to open up.
Yeah,
but like you got bits and pieces of it when he's just like, I want to crush Hinata.
Yeah.
Why? He's not the one blocking you. You should
be crushing.
What about the libero who keeps hitting all your shots? Like,
that's a good point. I didn't
I want that dude. Like, what?
Yeah, fucking short. Yeah. It would have been way more interesting to see him like, if he just became super angry, like, blah, just like,
and like to actually, I thought they were going to go a dragon route and ping pong route, show him be more emotional, like getting into the sport of ping pong.
I agree.
Because the only other person on Shiro Tozawa, who really had personality, was Tendo.
Yeah, Tendo was the weird, creepy guy, but
he was the one who is that the guy? That's the guy.
Yeah, the red haired guy
I mentioned earlier. The one who was like doesn't fit in this anime.
Oh, that's the guy you don't like. Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say what's her name? The other manager, the blonde chick.
Yeah. No, she was kind of cool.
I liked her too. I liked her too.
She grew on me a lot. She entered the thing. It's like, man, and I was like a little turned off because again, it's exactly how Chihara Furu season 2 started. Introduce a new character and then like kind of an inexperienced girl and then like explain these new things.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't want to go through this again. But she proved vital and like necessary.
She made her place in the team. She made that cool flyer. Like I want a real life poster of that first flyer.
I want to have someone, because I walk by, they'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to give money to the volleyball club. Like, where do I sign up? Oh my god, this little kid's jumping. He's jumping so goddamn high. Take my money, please.
Yeah.
But back to Tendo.
Yeah, so Tendo
didn't fit. To me, he was like a creepy...
Yeah, that's a good point because like, so what was his thing? Was like he was bullied as a kid, and now that he's older, he likes playing volleyball to crush people's dreams or something.
Yeah,
like
he was like, scary.
Yeah, he was the closest to being. I think I know what you mean. He doesn't fit because he was the closest to being like truly an evil character.
Yeah,
but they couldn't make that extra jump because he was still in a team game, and if this is the best team, then he still has to be a good team player. So it's weird. It's like they went halfway, but like I don't know. I see what you're saying.
It's like they failed because they didn't give Ushijima any personality, so they gave Tendo too much personality.
Yeah, like, that's a good way to put it.
And they're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and also
we have
our
two
friends.
Extremes.
Yeah, they're an odd couple.
I will admit, I do like their friendship. I just think
it
that's
is.
fun.
It is weird. That is fun.
Even though Tendo's Ushijima's like 55 years old.
Yeah, seriously, he's like like in 21 Jump Street where Channing Tatum was like he's supposed to pretend he was in high school.
Oh my
he's
God,
like
Channing Tatum would play him in
dude, he would. He totally would. Anyways, okay, so what was your favorite moment in the whole show?
Again, I have 3. I wrote this down.
Okay.
Again, because I do think for future podcasts, we should definitely talk about our different favorite moments.
Yeah, we should.
You can go first if you want to.
Okay, I have one.
While I look for this.
Well, actually, 2, of course. I think we share one. The one that I like the most, and the one that I rewatch occasionally on Hulu, is when Karasuno is going up against Date Tech in the first season, and Hinata is like decoying it up, like he's gonna. Like when the Iron Wall guy, when he's like, I'm gonna get you, Hinata, and then like he goes like that, and then behind him, Asahi like is actually like jumping up, and then you see the Iron Wall guy, and he's like falling backwards, and he's like, oh my god, I fucked up. And then you see Asahi, he's like flying in slow motion, and he sees the clear shot on the other side of the court, and he's like, so this is what it's like. I remember this feeling.
Yeah.
And then he like spikes it, and it's like the best spike ever. I don't know. I love that shot.
That would be my top 5. That would probably be my number 5 moment.
Okay, so you go next.
Mine is Yamaguchi in episode 21 of season 2, when he comes into the match and then he's more confident than he was before, and it's because this moment's earned because he failed his first time he did it. The second time he did it right the first time, but then chickened out about scoring. So that, just like a normal serve. So his third time he's up, he's ready to go, he's confident, and I forgot if this was like right before he goes in, it's like the coach is like, I know you're there. Like Ukai's like, I can feel your presence.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like, looks over him. He's like, you
pans up
want
to
me
his
to put
face.
you into the game, and he's like, put me in the game.
Yeah.
And then he does it, and then he steps up, and then he starts scoring points, and he scores like 5 points. Like at a time, like my heart was like swelling like so much, like it was so good. And then like I hear that in my head when all the crowd's going, or the teams like Yamaguchi.
Yeah.
So that
was a really
one
good
of my
point.
Favorites.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, it was really satisfying because he kept fucking up before, and it's like it's interesting because they like they said, like when you're serving, it's like when you're the most alone on the court. So it's interesting that they kind of like emphasized that there was still some individual skill to be played, even though it's a team sport. There is a time where it's like if you, like one person's individual skill can really turn the tide, and Yamaguchi was the guy that really sharpened that. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And my second favorite moment would be again, it's an Asahi moment in first season.
You really like Asahi?
Yeah, I just like his moments. Like I think it like watching him spike is like the most satisfying thing. It was the practice game when they're going up against the adults, and Asahi is just thinking like in his head, like, "Oh, I'm gonna get blocked. I'm gonna get blocked." But then he comes to realize, like, I need to keep calling for tosses. So Sugawara is a setter, right? And he's about to set to someone else, but then Asahi's like, "Suga!" Like he like yells his name, and then he calls for one more toss, and then he finally gives him that perfect toss, and then like his spike just blasts through all the blockers and hits the ground with like so much force that the ball like almost pops and it goes flying.
Yeah,
I love watching that.
Okay, that was a great moment. My number 2 is, so it must be your number 1 then, is Suki Giel.
Yep, that's the one that's definitely my that was gonna be my next one.
Yeah, because that's my number 2. So like, I guess we could talk about Suki Giel together afterwards. So I'll go with my favorite moment is it's the last 4 minutes of episode 24. Is the final point sequence between them, is because that is just a brilliant sequence. As I was telling you early on, it's just like they keep interrupting all these matches.
Yeah, that's right.
Like with like not a lot of like movement and stuff, or like cut to talking, but like that last 4 minutes is just one point of everyone doing something, and and you don't really know who's going to score, and then there's like a twist like halfway through, like Okinawa seems like be expecting, like, oh shit, he's going to block it, like he's going to get the point, and then like everyone works in tandem with each other, and it's just the most intense feeling of just like
it's like one of the only uninterrupted volleyball sequences in the whole show, and it's the most satisfying. And they actually, I think they do that in all 3 seasons, is like the last point is always like the uninterrupted one, where they just let the ball go back and forth, and they don't cut to like the spectators or anything, which makes sense.
Except in season 3, where they split up episode 9 and 10.
That that's was true.
Like episode, it was like 9 and 10. It's like I forgot if there was one point after that, but there was a great momentum in episode 9, and then it just stops to start the next episode. And then that killed it. That would have been a great sequence if that was the final point, and that would have been up there for me. But they cut it off halfway through, and then I have to sit through the Hulu countdown, which for some reason the Hulu countdowns at like 59 seconds to start the next episode.
Yeah, gives you a lot of time to ponder.
And then it just repeats what you just saw, and then shows the theme song, and then it's like back to it. That was poorly edited. That was a poor decision.
Yeah, that's how they get you. Like, I think that was just definitely a draw to like, ooh, cliffhanger ending,
I've watched 59 episodes of this show. You know what? I don't think I'm gonna watch one more after it.
But yeah, so yeah, the next favorite moment I was gonna say was when Suki blocks Ushijima's point for the first time in the 3rd season,
and
then like.
Time.
And but like it flashes back to when that one guy from Fukurodani was like, you're gonna have your moment one day, and when you have that moment, you're gonna be hooked on volleyball. And then you see Suki, and he's like, yeah, and then the whole crowd goes, yeah, like it cuts to like the crowd, it cuts to the team, it cuts to everyone on the court. It's just like everyone gets super pumped up that Suki finally embraces the game and is like enthusiastic about it.
It's Suki's show in the 3rd season. Like,
I would say this. Yeah, I would even say even the 2nd season. I think in the 2nd season you kind of see him evolve much more than any other characters. But yeah, 3rd season for sure. Suki is the MVP, like the coach says. And what I noticed too was that moment when he goes like, yeah, when he like pulls his arms down and like he's like doing that victory pose. That moment is just so animated. And by that, I mean, like, when you watch it, like, just look at the frames. Like, they animate so many frames per second in just that one moment. And it just shows to highlight how important that is to his character development. I really like that.
Yeah. Some great moments. Any other critiques about the show?
So the flashbacks. There's the spectators that it cuts to sometimes. I guess the other thing I'll mention is like on the note of the spectators, sometimes like and I think every anime, especially sports anime, does this, where they'll cut to a spectator and the spectator will basically tell you what you're supposed to feel or what you're supposed to think during some moments. And Haikyuu does that sometimes, and I didn't really like it. Like I just don't like it in general in all shows. Like I like it more when a show kind of lets you piece together what the characters are feeling or what you think you should be feeling in the moment. But sometimes it's just like, sometimes the character will just say, oh, this is a really tense moment, and this is a really important moment for Yamaguchi because, you know, he hasn't done a successful serve in the past.
He's probably feeling this right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, we get it. Like I know Yamaguchi's going through. We saw him developing throughout the whole show. It's like, we just let him have his moment. So yeah, just little things like that I didn't really like. But like you said, these little things didn't detract from my overall enjoyment of the show.
Yeah, the only thing that I guess the last thing I guess I'll touch on for critique wise is the one that that I really thought about a lot. It's like it took me a long time to care if the team would actually like won or lost. Like I liked them working together, but I didn't really care if they would either win or lose a match because for so long I didn't know their motivation behind besides you know just like let's win. Because I never understood Hanada's. Even like I get it, like I understand how he drives up, he sees the little giant playing, he's like, wow, that's cool, I want to be like that. But like, why is he? You don't really get a sense that he feels inadequate because he's short. Besides some jokes about him, like you never see him that really affect his life. You never see him like his dad saying, "Man, I wish you were great at volleyball, son," or like it's like or like
some
a dying,
daddy issues.
Yeah, or anything for any of these characters about why they're so passionate about volleyball. And I understand the reason for it because in the second season we see the explains like Hanada's confused, like you need a reason to want to win. Like I only wish that line came in the first season a little bit because like it came too late for me to for it not to kind of taint the beginning of the first season for me because I didn't know any of these characters' motivations, and I still don't. We know nothing about these characters besides their love for volleyball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see where you're coming from, and there are definitely other animes that do much better in terms of like the motivation behind them playing and stuff like that. So I guess I'd have to agree with you on that one.
But overall, like it's nice to see them work on things. Like I just one of my favorite moments I forgot to mention. I would say it's probably number 4 on my list. Then is the training section part where they all kind of get a move to that they want to learn, and it shows like the montage of them actually learning it. That's cool.
That is cool. That's I would also say one of my favorite moments is like when they have Sugawara and Kagayama on the court at the same time for the first time. And it's like, oh my god, what are they gonna do? And then it's like, it turns out that
reverse double set,
it's like
setter jump.
Or no, like that was good too. But like the first time to do it, when it was like Suga became the setter, and like the rest of the team was just attacking. So it was like 5-man attack, and it was just like that was crazy. The other thing I forgot to mention too was what I really liked about the show is that Karasuno, they'll use tricks that they learned from other teams. Like,
absolutely.
In the first season, when they go up against Nakoma uses a shit ton of tricks on them. And then in the following matchups, you see Karasuno using those same tricks they learned from Nakoma against other people.
Like the back attack, yeah.
Yeah, like the was that the triple front diversion back attack was one of them. And I think that was really cool. And then you kind of see Suki, he kind of becomes like the Iron Wall. Like there's a point where Hinata's like, "Oh my god, Suki, he's just like the Iron Wall guy." And it's yeah.
But it was like a good moment, but it did confuse me because Bukado from the other team, one of the top spikers, like taught Suki how to block better.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like literally telling him everything he needs to do in order to block his spikes, and then he got upset when Suki blocked his spike. You literally told him, put your hands up, keep your hands here, look for the opening. You can see me doing this, and then when he does it, he's like, "Oh!"
that was a comic bit, right? I think they mentioned that too, wasn't it? Like, don't expect I mean, you taught him that move. Why didn't you expect?
Yeah, because like their excuse was he wants to face good people. Like everyone wants to face the best.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, is that the end of the spoiler section?
I think so.
All right. So yeah, we are done with the spoilers. Back to the non-spoilers section. And I guess it's time to talk about our conclusion, our score. Kobe, what do you give this anime? What do you give Haikyuu?
Well, first we should talk about a rating system, right? So,
I figure we'll give the score and then just talk about what that score actually means.
Okay. I give it 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars. So, to our viewer, a 4 stars in our rating system means that you like this anime and you want to own it so that you can watch it for yourself. Basically, this means that this is like an above average anime worthy of spending money on, essentially, and rewatching. And then a 5-star is you love this anime, you own this anime, and you want to watch it at least once every year. Like it's mandatory viewing to watch it every year because that's how good it is. So like 4.5 is kind of like that pretty much means. Go ahead, Kobe.
Yeah, it means that I would own this anime, and I would sing its praises. I don't think I would watch it every single year, even though I have a feeling I'm going to go back and watch individual moments for this anime, like quite frequently. Mm-hmm. Like again, some moments in season 2 and some moments in season 3, just because there's a lot of individual moments here that are really strong. But since there's so many episodes, I don't think I have the time to devote 60 episodes to rewatch every year.
That is a very good point. I have to rethink my score because I was gonna give it a 5 out of 5, but now that you mentioned that, I don't know if I would watch it every single year. Also, again, because of how many episodes it is, and it's like a show. Like if it's gonna turn out to be like a really long anime, then I don't know if I would watch it every year.
But
I'll say this. So I'll say I will give it 4.5 stars as well because it gives me everything I could ever want and ask for in a sports anime. It's just an excellent characters, excellent development. The soundtrack's great. The scenes are great. Huge cast of lovable characters, antagonists and protagonists alike. I'll give it a 4.5 stars because it's not complete yet. The whole anime hasn't been released, and I don't want to give a 5-star to a show that hasn't completely been released yet. So as it stands, seasons 1 through 3, I think is a 4.5 stars for sure.
To let the viewers know, any anime that reminds me anything about the Mighty Ducks will automatically at least be 4 stars. So this had a very Mighty Ducks feel in the sense of teams coming together and working together and trying out some different moves. So this is a 4.5 star anime to me.
Is that's a live action hockey movie?
What? It's a live action trilogy of hockey movies.
Of what? Of hockey? Yeah, okay. Trilogy. Okay.
With Emilio Estevez as Coach Bombay, who is a lawyer who who's a lawyer who got a DUI and he's forced to coach like this pee-wee hockey team. And like it shows like it's first of all these kids are like young and they're like pee-wees and they're great in the first one. The second one they're in school more and they actually like more adults and they're fighting teams. And the third one they're fighting like this Russian team and it's oh my god, I love the Mighty Ducks.
All right, I'll have to give that a watch. Maybe we can give a commentary. Whoa.
I would love to do a commentary on the Mighty Ducks.
Okay.
1, 2, or 3. Probably 2. I like 2 the best.
All right, we'll do 2 sometime in the future then. I haven't seen it, but I guess I'll have to watch it.
Which is, I guess, diverting off course from this. Haikyuu is a good anime.
Yeah, it's great. I love it a lot. I'm very curious to see where it's gonna go. Like I said, season 3. It's not a complete series yet, but we'll just have to see. And when season 4 comes out, be on the lookout for that. We will definitely watch it and do a review of that as well. And yeah,
all right.
Anything else, Kobe?
Nope. Thank you all very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. This has been Anime Ricochet, the premier podcast of Nerd Blaze. You can find us. We have a website, nerdblaze.com. We post these podcasts along with some other fun stuff, some other reviews. You can find us on YouTube. We have a channel. You can check out all of our stuff on there. And you can find us on Twitter. Follow us if you want. It's at The Nerd Blaze, where we post funny hijinks and commentary.
Indeed. Yep. I guess that's it. We did it.
Haikyuu
was great. Recommend it. And I'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.